Hello, everybody. Want to welcome you again to Destination Health Podcast. Wednesday at 1:30. Every Wednesday at 1:30, we are honored and privileged, blessed to have Lorna Kleidman going over some kettlebell moves. She's 5-time world kettlebell champion. We're not going to get any better. Please make sure you consult with your physician before you start any exercise program. And Lorna, what are we going over today? I'm in next week. I forgot the kettlebells at the office. I'm in the home office today. So okay. I am kettlebell-less, if you will.
That's okay. I'm going to show you a few moves today. We're going to take it on from where we left off last week and then 2 weeks ago. So we're going to start with something that's called the Suitcase deadlift. Now, a deadlift is when the weight is below your hips. It looks like a little squat, but it's called a deadlift because we're going to start with the weight, dead weight, from the floor. You can also do this Suitcase deadlift with 2 kettlebells, but today I'm going to show you the single side version. The magic of the single side version is that you're going to be working the opposite abdominal cavity, the obliques on the opposite side. So when we go with the single side Suitcase deadlift, you want to pay attention to not tilting or rotating toward that weighted side. And preventing the tilting and rotating is going to engage the opposite side of the body as well as the weighted side, okay? So hinging from the hips, we talked about that a couple weeks ago, right? Creating that hinge from the hips. Knees are just soft. I have a little stepper under the bell to raise it up to me. And I'm going to grab the bell without tilting or rotating toward it. So if you didn't know I was reaching for a weight, you would just see my body square to you, okay? So you're just going to stand up with it and then slowly let it down. When you go down, you're going to release the weight slightly, but keep your energy of your body going up. So we don't want to release it completely. We're just going to unload it for a moment and then come back up. So this can be 10, 12, 15 reps, depending on the weight that you're using. This is a Suitcase deadlift. Then we can also stay over in this flexed position. Again, avoiding the tilt or the rotation and go with a single arm Suitcase row. It's surprisingly effective for the trunk, the core.
Especially when you have one, your core is engaged because you don't have both hands, right, that have the kettlebell in them. So you have to engage the core to keep that trunk straight, correct?
That's right. Now, if I were to use 2 bells to do that Suitcase deadlift, so for example, if I want to use 2 35-pounders.
I think that's too heavy for me, Lorna, the 35-pounders.
It's not. It's not at all. But since now I have a bilateral load, one in each hand, I'm going to go heavier because I don't have to fight with the one side.
Right.
I'm using it as it's a barbell. It's an equal weight on both sides. So we can go heavier if we're using 2 weights. We can go heavier. And now I'm pushing through both hips and legs and not one. So that's just an idea of how you can use the different weights, the different ways to move with them. Okay, let's go into a single arm swing. So here we're going to go into a fun momentum move, which is really the hallmark of the kettlebell. A couple weeks ago, we talked about the swing. You can start from the floor or you can start standing. The main thing is to come into this hike position with your hips flexed, knees soft, trunk is flat, and you're going to bring the bell and the wrist back to the hike position and then straighten the legs and come up. So here's your double arm swing. Now we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're just going to use one arm. Okay, so you can start from the floor or from standing. I'll start from the floor. The shoulder, I'll go on this side. The shoulder that has the bell is going to be back and down. The hips are back. My head is looking in front of me, not here. We don't want to crank the neck. Just keep your head in line with your shoulders and your hips. Now I'm going to draw the single arm back and then drive the legs up and exhale. Okay, shoulder back and down, tilt it on its edge, pull, push. Each time the bell comes back through the legs, you want to bring it close to the crotch, the wrist, close to the crotch. Not down here, as we talked about a couple weeks ago, because that's going to be more risky for the back, more strain on the back muscles.
Right.
We keep the bell close to the body and it stays nice and comfortable.
Yes, and your back is remaining straight with your head, and that it makes it stronger. It makes it stronger. You're just not in that compromised position.
Right, and the core stays like a girdle the whole time.
Right.
The whole time. So all you're really doing is hinging from the hips, bending the knees slightly, and from here, this hike position, you're just straightening up.
Right.
And letting the bell come, and then you're just following that pattern of the pendulum. Pretty simple. Okay, so let's go into a balance move. This is really fun. Challenging at first, but very effective. So grab the corner of the handle. Make sure you have space on the other corner because your hands are gonna grab like this, taking the bell. Your palms will face backward. Shift your weight to one foot. And you're gonna take the bell. I was gonna do this one with you, so we'll do it next week.
We're gonna do that next week. That is a great exercise.
This is so good. So you're balancing on one foot. If you need to touch down to get your balance, no problem. And then you can stay on the same leg and go in the other direction. So I can feel my lower leg and my foot working.
So right now you're getting your abs, you're getting some shoulders, you're getting some legs in there. I need that. I have a bad knee, so my balance is a little off. It'll be a little interesting to see how I go next week.
Excellent. We can try that.
Yeah.
And it's not as it's actually fun. It's not as difficult as it looks. It's very, very effective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go back to the oblique work. So just like we did with the suitcase deadlift, we're going to put the kettlebell on one side of the body. All right. Feet are close together, and we can put the fingertips of the free hand behind the ear.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to disengage the lats. So we want not to work the lats so much on this movement, but the obliques. So I'm going to let the bell take me to the weighted side, and then I'm going to overcome it using my obliques on my free side. Take me, take me, take me, overcome it.
That's excellent to get rid of the lats out of that because you're going to engage the lats and you just want
Right, so we don't want to use the lats here on our back to pull. We want to use the obliques. So this can also be done with a dumbbell, but the kettlebell offers a little bit more of a challenge because the weight is displaced from the center of the hand. So if you imagine that you're between two walls, you're going to go side to side, trying not to tilt or rotate. Okay, here's another one we're going to take the legs out of the equation. We're going to work the arms and the abs. There are very few kettlebell movements that don't work the abs. I mean, a lot of them.
it seems like that is, you have to have the strong abs and you're working your abs a lot.
You're working your abs a ton with the kettlebell moves, just by virtue of the shape of the weight. So we're going to be in a double kneeling position, butt engaged, glutes squeezing, so we don't sag into the hip flexion. We're going to avoid that. Squeeze the glutes. Now the abs are going to be tight. Hold that position. We'll take the kettlebell by the horns, the sides of the handles, and bring it bottom up. I'm going to reach the kettlebell out away from me, in front of me. Reach it out. Bring it back. Reach it up. Here is my tricep press. Everybody knows a tricep press.
Right. Oh, that's great.
Bring it back in front of me. Every time I bring it to the chest, I'm going to push it away. Now I'm going to open my arms, and here's a bicep curl.
You're getting multiple muscle groups at this point.
So we're working the shoulders.
Uh-huh.
Here's triceps. Here's anterior deltoid, and here's biceps.
Right.
One more time. Anterior deltoid,
Mm-hmm.
triceps. Nice and slow and controlled. This one is the most that I feel my abs, of course, because I'm pushing.
Because you're moving it away, correct,
a
right.
lot of abs, and
Yep.
then biceps. So you go through about 10 rounds of that for a couple sets.
And that's enough. You're burning a lot of calories at that point, and you're working a lot of muscles. You're getting a nice cardio workout with it. So that's great.
Yeah, you're gonna get your heart rate up a little bit.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Now, let's go with a plank row. So because this particular bell is tall, it's not like a shorter fitness bell. It's a tall bell.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to do the row, I'm going to elevate my free arm, my stable arm a little bit. You can use a block or you could use a bench. I'm going to use a stepper to elevate my plank. Okay, so I'm going to have my one arm on the plank and then one hand on the bell. Here's my plank. And I'm going to row, trying not to shift my hips around too much.
Right.
Row, slowly unload. Row, slowly unload. Okay, again, 10 to 15. It depends on the weight you're using. If you're going heavy weight, you might do 8 to 10.
How many sets? How many sets do you normally? Oh, that's great when if you can lift up your feet.
So now, just on 2 limbs.
Now you're really engaging your abs and your core at that point.
Yeah, and glutes too.
Right.
One more step of challenge. Let's go a little higher. And every time we straighten the arm, let's not touch down. So we're keeping constant tension on the bell arm. So if I raise myself up a little bit, okay, so let's row and don't touch down. So there's always another way to challenge yourself, not just with kettlebells, but with any movement that you're doing. There's always, a way to modify it, and there's always a way to make it harder. So it's fun to see what you can do. If you can do 20 reps of something, well, let's see how to make it harder and go to the next level. I mean, it's always fun to be creative and think of the next way to do it.
That's great. Those are really great exercises. I want to do some of those next week, so I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I want to give it a whirl. I want to see what I can do. I want to see what the 59-year-old body can handle here with the kettlebell.
I don't even know what that means. 59. It's nothing. Yeah. These are the kind of movements that are going to keep you young because you're working in 3 dimensions and you're working opposing muscle groups. This is what keeps your body and your joints young and strong, as you know. That's what Absolutely. You do for your client, for your patients, and that's what
100%. So, for any of our listeners today, does anybody have a question for Lorna? Let's see if anybody pops up with a question. But these are great exercises, that can help out. A lot of core work, your shoulders, and you wouldn't think that a kettlebell can, get your biceps, but it's just a great workout.
Yes. One more movement I'll show you, and we'll go over this tomorrow, next week as well. You can use any size kettlebell. I like to create a little platform. Again, it can be a stepper or it can be a block as my end point. So I'm going to do a single leg deadlift with a single kettlebell. Okay, so this is a good warm up for the hips. So standing on one leg, the bell is in the other leg. As I flex over into my single leg deadlift, the free leg is lifting until I touch the kettlebell, and then I'm going to stand up and try to balance. If you can't.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, so I'm thinking about flexing from the standing leg. All the weight is in the hamstring and my glute on my right leg, and then stand with balance if you can. And then there's other things you can add to that, fun things to challenge your balance. But for now, that would be the basic single leg deadlift. A really great way to warm up. Matter of fact, if you don't have any weights or you want to do it without weight first, it's a good idea. So you can just take your kettlebell on the floor or a step or what have you, and just touch your fingertips the same way. So as I flex,
right,
I'm going to come over and touch and stand. That would be the first way to do it. And then you add a little bit of weight, and then you add other things. And then before you know it, we're doing Martha Graham stuff.
absolutely. We do have a question from Andrea. She wants to know if you have any recorded workouts for purchase.
I do. I have a high cardio workout series called Kettle X that I created. It has 3 levels, basics, intermediate, and advanced with the fitness bells. So the basics workout is just with 1 bell. For women, I recommend 15 pounds. For men, 25 or 30. And it's high cardio. It's the halo and the chop. It's a high pull and a press. It's not super heavy weight. It's high cardio. But I have a tutorial with each of the levels of the workouts. And then the intermediate and the advanced use 2 kettlebells of different weights. So you're going to have a 15 and a 25, and we're going to do different things with the 2 bells, sometimes together, sometimes the 2 bells separately.
Right.
So those workouts are offered through DVD, if you still use DVD, or streaming. I have them streaming, and you can get them from lornafit.com. And then in the production of creating some new workouts too. So thank you for asking.
Excellent, excellent. And you know what? We recommend Lorna, 5-time world champion. So you're not going to get any better anywhere on the face of the earth. So, check out lornafit.com, right?
Yes.
Excellent.
All right, next week with you, Dr. Dan.
I'm there next week. I'm not going to flex today. Next week I'll flex when I'm pumped up and I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Thank you very much for all of our listeners today and all of our viewers. Share this with all of your family and friends. Contact Lorna. She is the best. Thank you very much again, Lorna. It's been a pleasure to do the workout and me watching you next week. Next week I'm in.
And it'll be a pleasure for you next week too.
Yeah, thank you very much. So thank you, everybody. Take care.